All right, so in this video, I want to talk about why delaying and procrastinating can be costly. All right, so regret is expensive, right? And especially when it comes to property, it could cost you thousands, and I mean tens or hundreds of thousands, right? And why you shouldn't delay buying property in Singapore, right? Especially at this point of time, you can actually afford to get into a property, right? First, the rising of property prices. And we know that the price will continue to increase and will keep increasing, right? Because the land is scarce over here in Singapore, right? And in the long term, we have already seen that the prices has generally risen over long term, right? Due to limited land and strong demand. Recent examples from 2020 to 2024, prices of private homes rose despite cooling measures and global uncertainties, right? And what it means is that property that can cost you 1.5 million today, could cost you 1.6 next year, for example. And this basically just means pricing you out of a certain unit type or location. All right, so this is our PPI, right? Property Price Index. And in general, we just keep seeing this number increasing over time, right? And this is just another one, right, from 2020 to very recent. And you can see that the price in general just keeps increasing, right? And this may be an opportunity because right now, right, that gap between CCR and RCR is very, very close. Okay, so if you are looking at CCR during this time, it's considered a very good chance for you to get in because this gap, this opportunity, this window of opportunity during this time may just disappear because once we get past this timing, the price may then be somewhere around here, right? So this is another chart also to show you that the gap is narrowing between CCR and RCR, which almost never happened, right, for the very longest time, right? There is always that big gap between RCR and OCR, and the price gap is getting narrower, okay? Right? And higher interest rates and loan costs. Okay, so mortgage rates are no longer considered low, right? Delaying in a purchase in a rising interest rate environment increases monthly installments and total interest paid. Okay, so this is the mortgage rate that is currently happening in the market, right? We actually see a dip here in the mortgage rate. And of course, we don't know whether it's going to go higher, right, in the future or whether it's going to go lower in the future. Okay, but at this point of time, with what's happening in the property market, you can also strategize what you can do, right? For example, if you go in here and if it goes lower in the future, you can always do a refinance, right? And if you get in over here and if it goes up in the future, at least you know that you have seized the opportunity at this point in time, right? So there's always a good chance, especially right now when you look at the property market, you got to think why you shouldn't go in, right? At the same time, why you should go in. Okay, these two questions you got to ask yourself and get the reasons out of it because then it makes perfect sense for you to get it. Okay. And of course, limited supply in prime areas. All right, prime and central areas are supply constrained. Once a new launch sells out, similar units may not come back in years, right? Or will be priced much higher. And resale units in this area are also tightly held. Seller usually asks for higher asking price. Okay. So right now, what we can see that, right, the stock is actually very limited. At this point of time, we are actually below the 5-year average. Okay, so with limited supply, limited land, the price is basically well controlled. And guess who controls the price? Okay, this is a game of supply and demand, right? There's always this fighting of supply and demand, and this is very well controlled by our government. We make sure that we do not flood the market with oversupply, right? And we do not undersupply the market. So this is actually well controlled right now, where we are seeing and where we are right now, right? Just another chart to show you that, yes, the stock may be up a little bit based on the demand, but it's still well under 5-year average, okay? Next thing is the missed capital appreciation, right? because you basically can't stop the time from moving, right? And if you were to go back to previous charts, right? For example, you have got in at 2020. The price has moved this much for the OCR. The price has moved this much for RCR, right? You would have capitalized on this gain, and you may be looking for other properties in the market already. Okay, so which is why this missed capital appreciation is something that you can never get back again. Okay, so time equal to opportunity cost, right? Basically, if you have missed a certain time frame, and then you can basically just go for the next one and ongoing. You only have so much time in your lifetime to try to capitalize on this. Okay, and of course, tighter regulations, right? The government can change the rules anytime. Okay, so we do not know what's going to happen, what can we change, but we can look at, or we can try to anticipate a little bit, right? Because this has happened before, right? For example, right now, the loan to value is at 75%, right? Who knows, it can change to 70%, right? And for buyer stamp duty, right, it can also change, right? Whether it's, 3%, 4%, it can be done very easily, okay? And TDSR, right now we are at 55%, and who knows, it could go down to 50%, 45%. Okay, next one is ABSD, right? So right now we know that for Singapore citizen, the first property is at 0%, for Singapore PR is at 5%, for foreigner is at 60%. But who knows that they can change, for foreigner and for entities to maybe 20% or even down to 10%. This will change a lot of the demand in the market. Okay, so all of this that you see is just a number, right? They can change it anytime. Okay, and of course, your financial profile can also change, right? Your income, your age, your debt profile may shift over time, reducing your loan eligibility. I just want to show you a very quick cheat sheet over here. So basically, income versus property price. So let's say right now you have an income of 15,000 combined, right? You are 35 years old. You can loan up to 30 years, right? This is the amount that you can loan, right, at this point in time. Right? Of course, if you increase in your combined income, then that changes. But let's say if you don't, the thing that you're fighting with is time and age, right? So as we age, at 40 years old, this is how much we can loan. At 45 years old, this is how much we can loan. So if you can see from this chart, as we get older, there's only so much that we can loan based on our age. Okay? Right? And by delaying and procrastinating, basically, you're losing out on perfect fit units. All right. So of course, we know that there's no perfect units, right? But there are certain units that is very close to what you're looking for, right? It could be the best facing or the most efficient layout, right? And these usually get sold first, right? And delaying just means that you may have to, settle for higher floors. You may have to get the West Sun unit, or sometimes the odd layout ones. Okay, if you're unsure about what's going on in the current market, you don't know what to do, you're unsure what you need to do, you can always reach out, we can always speak over the phone, we can always talk over a cup of coffee, up to you, right? So this is my number. You can always scan the QR code, reach out to me on WhatsApp, or even reach out to me on different social platforms. I will get back to you and we can start talking about it. Okay, so that's all I have for you in this video. See you in my other videos. Take care. Bye-bye.